Hello, my name is Kelly. I'm owner of Off the Beaded Path, and I'm going to be teaching you how to do flat, even count peyote stitch today. Over the next several weeks, I'll be doing several videos found in the Mastering Beadwork book by Carol Cipher. Carol has given me permission to go through. I wanted to do a technique series where I taught a new stitching technique each week. So each week I'm going to pull out one project from her book, teach the technique, and show how to do the project. Now, you can buy this book either by going to our website, offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. You can come to our store, which is located at 120 West Trade Street in Forest City, North Carolina, or you can buy it on Carol Cipher's website, which you will find listed at the very beginning of this video. So today, I'm not necessarily going to teach a project from the peyote stitch chapter, but I am going to teach you how to do even count peyote stitch. So over the next several weeks, you may want to get a copy of this if you haven't already, because this is a wonderful book on all your basic stitches. So with that being said, all you're going to need for today's project to learn is you're going to need some fired line. I like to use a 4-pound all the way up to a 12-pound fire line. I'm going to be using a size 8 delica. The difference between a delica and a regular seed bead is that a delica has a perfect cylinder shape, and a seed bead, normal seed bead, has a round shape. And with a delica, since they're perfectly shaped beads, you won't have to worry about being uneven, and you'll have a very, very pretty finished piece. So today I'm using like a slate or a denim blue color. And then you're going to need a needle, of course, just one. If you want to do any kind of embellishments, once you learn the technique, then you'll need the beads for that. And if you want to add a closure, you'll need a closure. But for the technique, let's go ahead and get your needle threaded. I'm going to use about a 6-pound fire line on this, and then we'll start with the technique. To start off peyote stitch, you'll need to thread on a stop bead. Now, this is just my way of doing it. You can thread on a stop bead or whichever kind of stop bead you like. But what I do is I pick up my very first delica, and I'm going to slide it down on my thread and leave myself a long enough tail that when I finish, I can go back and add my closure. So I normally like about 12 inches. Now from the tail, I'm going to come straight back through that same bead so that when I pull it, the thread will wrap around the bead, and that now becomes my stop bead. Now, one thing that I do differently from other people that I have looked at their patterns is I make this very first bead as bead number 1 of my even counts of numbers, because when you get done at the very end, you can take your needle and pull that little piece of thread and pull that thread out, so you'll have your bead just like you normally would. So if you don't feel comfortable doing that, add whichever kind of stop bead you like, and then start with your delicas. But this is going to be an even count, so for that being said, you need an even number of beads. This is number 1, and I'm going to make a total of 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'll let those slide down to my base. Now, when you start to do peyote stitch, there is an even and there is an odd. Odd is a whole nother ball game, so just pay attention that you get an even number of beads. Now, once you have your even number, you're actually going to be working back towards your tail. So we're going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see a little bit better what I'm going to do. So I have my original 6 here. I'm going to pick up 1 delica. I'm going to skip bead number 6, which is the very last bead that I strung on. I'm going to take my needle, and going back towards your tail, I'm going to go just through bead number 5. And I hold my bead in place there, so that when you pull, the bead you just added and the bead you skipped should lay on top of each other as so. If it does not lay like this, just move your beads around to where they'll lay as so. This is the good thing of using delicates because they pretty much pop on top of each other. Now I'm going to pick up one seed bead. I'm coming out of bead number 5. I'm going to skip bead number 4 and I'm going to come back through bead number 3 again, going towards the tail. And when I first do my first row, I try and keep my finger on it so that way if my thread gets caught on anything, I'm not messing up my beads terribly. Okay, so just pull it till it pops into place, and now you have 2 stacks. Then I'm going to pick up one bead. I'm coming out of bead number 3. I'm going to skip bead number 2, and then I'm going to come back through bead number 1, which is my stop bead. And I'm going to pull so that when I pull, now I have 3 stacks. Now, this is the point where it becomes super, super, super easy. We started out with the tail and we added beads till we got to the end. Now, when we started building our house, as I say, adding our bricks, we worked back towards the tail. Now we're going to be working towards the other side. Peyote stitch is a constant zigzag between your sides. So I'm going to pick up one bead, and these 3 beads here sticking up are the beads that I just added on the previous row. So I've got my bead, and I'm going to come through just this very first bead sticking up. That would be the very last bead that I added on the previous row. And I'm going to pull. Okay, so now I've got 2 stacks next to each other. And then I pick up one, go through my next bead sticking up, and then pick up my 3rd bead and go through that last bead sticking up. Okay, so now this is what we've got. We're constantly adding bricks to our house. So now I'm going to work back towards myself for the tail. So I'll pick up one bead. I come back through this first bead sticking up on that row. That will be the last bead that I added. Pick up one bead. Come through the next bead sticking up on that row. And then I'm going to pick up one bead, and I'm going to come through the last bead sticking up on this row. Okay, I'm going to do one more row, and I'm going to let you go at it. So I'm going to work back towards the other side now. So I pick up one bead, come through the first bead sticking up here on this row. Pick up one bead, go through the next bead sticking up on the row. And then I'm going to pick up a bead, and I'm going to come through the last bead sticking up on the row. So now, that's what you have. So you want to continue on until you are within about 3/4 of an inch to an inch from the length that you want, so that you'll have enough room to finish your closure and put it on.